تبت يدا أبي لهب وهب ما أغنى عنه ماله وما كسب سيصلى نارا ذات لهب وامرأته حمالة الحطب في جيدها حبل من مسد صدق الله العظيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Last week was the first week after about 13 sessions that we had every week that we finally had a gap due to the weather. So we'll do a brief recap because it's been 2 weeks inshallah, and then we'll get right into it inshallah. So in our last session 2 weeks ago, we had spoken about the end of the first phase of the Prophet's life in Mecca, and that was termed as the private da'wah phase. And in those first 3 years after he received his revelation, we spoke about how the primary focus was to build organically the iman of the certain few companions radiallahu anhum that had accepted Islam at the very beginning. We spoke about Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, we spoke about Uthman, Az-Zubayr, Abu Ubaidah, about 30 or 40 companions that we said had accepted Islam before the Prophet ﷺ was ordered by Allah Azza wa Jal to go public. And when he was ordered to go public, there were 2 parts to going public. The first part was to speak to his own family sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that happened in a way in which the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gathered together the entire Banu Abdul Muttalib and the entire Banu Hashim, which was his sub-tribe or his clan from Quraysh. He gathered them together for a feast at his house. And Ali radiallahu anhu was the chef. He prepared some mutton, some meat, some more milk, and it was served to the people. And the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he tried to speak the first time, but Abu Lahab interrupted him. And he did not let the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam speak. Some time passes, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he once again calls them together. And there he now seizes the opportunity and he takes the lead and he speaks to them about the message of Islam. And he gives a very brief khutbah that we went over. After that khutbah, the first person to get up and to say to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that I will stand with you was none other than Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu. And for the people of Quraysh, they mocked Ali radiallahu anhu, and they mocked his father Abu Talib, saying, look at your son, this 13-year-old young boy, what good can he do to this man's message? And Abu Lahab, he got up in disgust and he turned away from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying some very, very harsh words. After this, Allah Azza wa Jalla reveals the ayah, فَاصْدَعْ بِمَا تُؤْمَرُ وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. And this is where we had left off. فَاصْدَعْ بِمَا تُؤْمَرُ وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. Sada' is to break through something. So here Allah Azza wa Jalla says that whatever you have been ordered to stand and to give da'wah upon, then go open with it. There are no barriers, there are no limitations. It's not restricted to certain people. It's not restricted to your family. You go out to everybody. So we said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he climbed the mountain of As-Safa. Now it said that the mountain of As-Safa was one of the taller mountains at that time. When we go now, because of erosion, it's the height is significantly less. But even when we go now, you can tell, if you look at a map, and you can kind of tell of how it was located right between Safa and Marwa, and Mecca is in between, the valley and the city and the homes and whatnot. They're in between these 2 small mountains. And what used to happen was that if there was somebody coming from the side of Marwa coming from that side, then a person would climb a Safa, and it took a while to climb it, and he would call out to people. And now you had no choice but to believe in that person, because you cannot see what's behind Marwa. So if the person standing on the Safa, he says that there's an army coming, that you have to believe him. Unless he's a known liar, in that case, you would reject what he had to say. So the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he climbed it to the top, and he called out and he said, Wa sabaha, Wa sabaha. Wa sabaha in the Arabic language, it was the call that was made in the morning when there was something important, an emergency. So the way you sounded the alarm was through this, Wa sabaha. And those who know the Arabic language, they would know that these words are actually coined, or they're formed in a way in which it is specific to a time in which there was no other means of getting your voice out. So there was no microphone, there obviously is no technology. So how do you get your voice out? And the Arabic word for the morning is subh. So you can say hana waqtu subh, or you can say some type of a sentence, but the majority of people, they won't really understand what you're saying. So you take a word and you put wa before it, and then you add ha at the end. And your voice will actually, if you try it, you'll end up speaking much louder than you want. Wa sabaha. It brings everybody to hear what you're saying. You catch the attention of everybody immediately. So people are hearing this and they're coming out and they're saying, Man hadha alladhi yahtif. They're saying, who is this person who's yelling on the mountain? Who's calling out on the mountain? And the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he's standing there and somebody says that Muhammad ibn Abdullah. It is Muhammad, the son of Abdullah. فَاجْتَمِعُوا إِلَيْهِ. So come together and listen to what he has to say. Because if it's Muhammad, then he's on there for a serious reason. He's not somebody who is known to be an entertainer. He's not somebody that's known to waste anybody's time. It's a person of honor, a person of truthfulness. He must have something important to say. And normally people go out, and some people, they don't go out. Anytime there's an announcement, half the people are listening, and the other half are not listening. But in this scenario, what happened is جَعَلَ الرَّجُلُ إِذَا لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ أَنْ يَخْرُجَ أَرْسَلَ رَسُولًا لِيَنْظُرَ. Ibn Ishaq says that in this particular scenario, there was not a single house in Mecca. There was not a single house in Mecca in which at least one member himself or herself went out, or if they could not go out, they sent somebody on their behalf. Nobody wanted to miss this announcement. And when فَاجْتَمَعُوا فَعَمَّ وَخَصَّ, when they gathered together, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he began to call out generally to all the people in front of him, and then specifically to many of his close family members. And then he said, إِنِّي أَنَا النَّذِيرُ الْعُرْيَانِ. He said that I am the naked warner. And I had mentioned last week or 2 weeks ago, that the reason that the warner would be naked when he would climb is that if you can't hear what he has to say, at least you can see that he's naked. And if he's naked, that means that he must have something important to share. Nobody doesn't just climb a mountain while he's naked. Now the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, obviously with modesty being an important principle of our deen and haya, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he said that he is the naked warner, but in fact he was dressed. And I had mentioned that we learn from this that using the means that are in front of us, we have media and different forms of mass communication that we use, using that in and of itself is not an issue. It's how we use it, and we alter our usage to reflect our principles. So whenever we use something, whenever we go ahead and engage in any platform, we want to be sure that we don't compromise on our principles while we're engaging on that platform. So the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he gathers there and he says that I am that naked warner, and then he begins to call out individually to each of the sub-tribes of Quraysh. And we had mentioned many times that there's Quraysh, and then you have a number of sub-tribes, a number of clans within Quraysh. And then he calls out to each and every one of them individually. And he starts out from the tribe that's furthest away from him in relation. يَا بَنِي كَعْبَ بْنَ لُوَيْ يَا بَنِي مُرَّةَ بْنَ كَعْبَ يَا بَنِي عَبْدَ شَمْسِ يَا بَنِي عَبْدِ مَنَافِ أَنْقِذُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ مِنَ النَّارِ. He calls out each and every one of these tribes and he's saying the same thing. أنقذوا أنفسكم من النار, save yourselves from the fire. And now these people are beginning to think, what fire? What fire is Muhammad telling us to stay away from? The alarm is being sounded. And if anybody that, we all know that when somebody says fire in a place, that's the one thing, the one word you can say in order to evacuate any place the quickest. If somebody says fire, immediately everybody's out. أنقذوا أنفسكم من النار, save yourselves from the fire. And after he says that, he begins to call out individually to members of his family. So he calls out generally, he says, Ya Bani Abdul Muttalib, O the sons of Abdul Muttalib. So this would mean his uncles, Hamza, Abu Lahab, Al-Abbas, and his aunts, Safiya, Urwa, and all the other aunts, because they're obviously gathered there. So he calls out to every one of them, Ya Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, La ugni anka min Allahi shay'an. O Abbas, there is not anything that I can do if you go against what Allah has to say. وَيَا صَفِيَّةُ عَمَّةُ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. And he calls out his aunt, his father's sister, Safiya radiallahu anha. And then he calls out his own daughter. He says, Ya Fatimatu binti Muhammadin, salini ma shikti min mali. He says, Oh Fatima, ask me whatever you want from my wealth. Anything you want, I can provide for you in this world. But remember, لا أغني عنك من الله شيئا. Remember that on the day of judgment, even I cannot stand up for you if you decided to go against Allah Azza wa Jalla. And then he says to all these people, فإني لا أملك لكم من الله شيئا غير أن لكم رحما سأبلها ببلالها. And in my khutbah last Friday, I had mentioned this, that at this critical juncture in the Prophet ﷺ's da'wah, after calling out to all these people, he says that if you decide to go against me, and if you decide to not accept what I have come with, then know that although this is against what I believe in, but غَيْرَ أَنَّ لَكُمْ رَحِمًا سَأَبُلُّهَا بِبِلَالِهَا, I still have a relationship with you. You're still my family, you're still from my tribe, you're still my people, and I'll try my best to honor them. Even at this critical juncture, the Messenger of Allah, he doesn't lose his character. And even though people are choosing to disbelieve, as we'll see, he ﷺ, in his character and his treatment of these people, he treats them the same way. And keep in mind that at that time particularly, you were either with somebody or you were either against them. This idea of us in the modern world today, where we can be in overlapping in different kind of ideologies and groups at the same time, that never existed. Either you believe in everything that I say, or either you're out. There's no pick and choose. But the Messenger of Allah, he makes an exception. He says, even if you go against what I have to say, but there's still a rahim, there's still something tying us down, and I'll still honor and respect that. And this speaks volumes of the character of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then Ibn Ishaq says that فَجَاءَ أَبُو لَهَبٍ وَقُرَيْشٍ. So everybody had gathered. And what's interesting here is that the narration mentions Abu Lahab came and Quraysh came. Now Abu Lahab is a part of Quraysh. And obviously many other people came. Why is Abu Lahab being singled out? فَجَاءَ أَبُو لَهَبٍ وَقُرَيْشٍ. Abu Lahab came and Quraysh came. We'll learn that shortly. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أرأيتكم لو أخبرتكم أن خيلا بالوادي تريد أن تغير عليكم أكنتم مصدقيا. He said, O people, if I was to tell you that there is an entire army behind this valley, تريد أن تغير عليكم, and they are about to attack you, أكنتم مصدقيا, would you believe me? قالوا نعم ما جربنا عليك كذبا. They said, yes, we have never experienced a lie from you. They never said you're not a liar. Because when you say a person is a liar, that means habitually they are a liar. They lie many times. They never said you're not a liar. Because a good amount of people are not liars, but they do lie occasionally. They said, مَا جَرَّبْنَا عَلَيْكَ كَذِبًا. They said, we've never experienced a lie from you. A single lie. The epitome of truthfulness. We've never experienced a single lie from you. And you can just imagine that in order for the Messenger of Allah ﷺ to reach the station where he reached, you have to understand that he has perfected himself in terms of his character. Integrity is an important part of da'wah. When we are talking to somebody, when we are trying to bring them closer to Islam, or in generally talking to a non-Muslim, our character plays an important role. Because 9 times out of 10, your co-worker or your classmate, they may not talk to you about Islam, but in the rare case,